Well, yesterday we had a march during lockdown 3 in level 3 in Auckland, led by Brian Tāmaki. Yep, he's a religious bishop, he's self-appointed bishop, and he led this protest, which has upset a lot of Aucklanders. And you know what? I'm pretty keen to know what this fellow thinks about it because I don't know. He seems to have an opinion about most stuff. So, what's your views on this one, Vaughan?
Well, I think this is going to be a smooth run for us, Max, because this is one thing I think we'll both agree unanimously on. I mean, by leading a gathering of around 1,000 people at Auckland Domain yesterday, Destiny Church leader Pastor Brian Tāmaki showed all New Zealanders that the only thing remotely pasta about this man is that he appears to have eaten too much of it. Pasta, that is. Carbo loading has clouded his thinking. I mean, seriously, Max, it is the only explanation I can think of for behaviour that implies that his head is solid bone from ear to ear. I don't know what you think. And look, I'll just finish on. No, I won't finish. I'm starting now. Let's be clear. The rules are the rules. The level 3 rules are not difficult to understand. Even a numpty like me understands them. All gatherings, such as weddings, funerals, tangihana, are limited to no more than 10 people. What we saw yesterday was 1,000 people together in my backyard up here at the Parnell, the Auckland Domain. That's 100 times the allowable limit. And furthermore, without masks, shoulder to shoulder, ignoring the 2-metre rule. So where do we go from here?
All right, let's inject. I'm going to take your role here. I'm going to inject some rationale into this. Brian Tāmaki does a lot of good for our community, and he gives a lot of people, desperate people, hope. And I hope they've got a future, and they hope that there's a God out there that's going to look after them and guide them through it. Now that's positive, and he probably looks after the children. And I'm hoping that he's giving an alternative to gangs because he operates like a gang, and I could see them yesterday in their black leathers and driving their huge motorbikes around. But
boys with their toys.
5 to 6 weeks, all of us have gone and we suffered. We've gone through hardship and hell to get rid of COVID. And yesterday he put together 1,000 people, and what for? For his ego, I would say, for his bloody ego. And what for? He could destroy that 6 weeks of hell that we've been through. Businesses are collapsing. You and I going on and on about it, the sufferings that people have endured to get here, and it could be just crushed in this one little bloody protest this idiot's going to put across. Brian, we know you do good, but you've done bloody bad this time, and I'm pissed off.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess, I would agree with you. Things like the Man Up program are actually quite amazing. But the thing about Pastor Brian Tāmaki, he's rocks and diamonds. He'll come out with something that like Man Up is to be applauded. And then something like this, that there is no explanation that qualifies that. I mean, Brian Tāmaki claims that they followed the health order and followed the rules, but you check the media footage, you'll see for yourself that his words are utter poppycock. I mean, for him to claim that people kept to their bubbles, unless you consider 1,000 people to be a bubble, I don't think so, little puppy dog. It's just he's just plain wrong.
Well, there's 2 people there. There's 2 gangs involved. One is Brian Tāmaki. He's got a gang of these guys. And the other gang is the police. Now, he went to them and said to them, I'm going to do a protest. So what the hell does the police commissioner do? He's come to a deal with them to allow it to happen. I've got to say, police commissioner, you're guilty here. Absolutely guilty. If we get a breakout in our community down South Auckland there, I've got to say, you're the problem of it, mate. And that's the commissioner and Brian Tāmaki working in unison. So, commissioner, if what the discussion's been reported as being accurate, you are in trouble with our community if we get an outbreak.
Bang on. And, that's right. I know for a fact that the police commissioner, Andrew Costner, and Brian Tāmaki were communicating prior to the event. And the police took this, the rhetoric as prevention first approach, which translated into plain English that people like you and I understand means that they communicated with each other and then monitored the situation. So it was a standoff approach. Now, I'll tell you what the real reason to support Andrew Costner, why he did that. They don't have the resources to waste on idiots. The police are too busy cleaning up murders and domestic violence. You read the papers, it's all over Auckland at the moment. The last thing the police need in the middle of a lockdown is the distraction of a self-promoter stirring up his flock of sheeple. He should be given exactly the same treatment that clown, Billy TK, was given. Anything less is double standards. Destiny Church should not be afforded, or should I say Brian Tāmaki should not be afforded any special treatment in this regard.
No, it's a blatant breach of the law. And look at the rest of us applying to the law, and the police commissioner says, but it's Brian. Well, let's go. Well, frick me, there could be people's lives at risk Yeah,
Yeah.
if in fact there's an outbreak.
Yeah, and trying to be objective about this, I can't find anything to be reasonable about that disgrace yesterday up there in the Domain. And police said they are considering prosecution options, so we'll keep an eye on that. But Pastor Brian Tāmaki, he must be treated in exactly the same way as the Wanaka couple, the gang members that took their contraband of KFC over the border, the police constable that breached the border last week to attend a tangi, people escaping from MIQ. Pastor Brian Tāmaki must not be afforded preferential treatment over and above those people. Same consequences. He's got to own his crap in this regard. And look, here's the other thing, Brian. Sorry, Max. Jeez, I'm sorry, bro. That was a
reason.
Maybe we start the small business church, but Pastor Brian Tāmaki had an opportunity to demonstrate to all New Zealanders. He could have said to the police, I'm going to gather 1,000 people up at the Auckland Domain, people who follow and support me. Get your vaccination teams up there. We'll have a mass jabbing session because Jesus saves. He could have done something like that, screwed the scrum and made it something really awesome that we go, hey, that cat Brian Tāmaki, man, he's sharp as, but that is not the case. And, when I joked about sort of the small business church, well, here's the sad irony, Max. Pastor Brian Tāmaki does not lead a church, not a real one anyway. Pastor Brian Tāmaki is a businessman, and if he was not operating a tithing model and enjoying church tax exemptions, Destiny Church would cease to exist before the sun goes down tonight.
You said some pretty good words in there, mate, and I do agree with you that he should be treated like anybody else, and it should be prosecutions to follow.
Yeah,
mate, and I'll catch you tomorrow.
I'll just close on one thing, and I'm repeating myself. If 1,000 Destiny Church supporters can pull the middle finger to New Zealand like they did yesterday without consequence, we are in dire straits as a country. So my message to the police and to the New Zealand public, we got to watch this space. The Wanaka couple, they got dragged over the coals. This cannot be swept under the mat. So, let's keep an eye on it, bro.
Damn right we will. And we'll report back on this one when it occurs. If and when anything occurs. Catch us soon.
Hey, thanks, Brian. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, bro.
Max.
Go.
How offensive was that, folks? How offensive.